Okay, this will be Lab 3 in the e-tron Circuit Labs. The basic V3 Intro to Electronics is the book we're using. Once again, I'll try to link the information in the description box below if you'd like to buy these materials. Let's get started on Lesson 3, Solderless Circuit Boards. We're going to be working with some equipment today, but we will not actually be building. So at this time, pull out your parts box, or if you're looking at the actual material, it'll say parts bags. But we have designed it where we could actually put it in a box for you. So right there's the website where you can order things, etroncircuitlabs.com. Here's your box. And what you're going to need is you're going to need a resistor, a capacitor, the ceramic capacitor. You're going to need a timer, the potentiometer. You're going to need the SCR and not sure other one. We're going to be on page 14 and 15, so you can turn to that right now. Let me see what other. Oh, you're going to need a transistor. I knew I was missing something. Okay, so your SCR, your transistor, your timer, your potentiometer, your resistor, and your ceramic capacitor, as well as your circuit board. We're not actually wiring anything that's going to work today, so we're not going to have a working circuit, but we are going to learn some vital information that will help you in labs to come. Pause this video right now if you need more time gathering your supplies. Looks like you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once you get those, you can unpause the video and we'll get started with our lab. So you can read in your book for chapter on page 14 and page 15. You can read the information that's in there. So I'm just going to jump right into the lab. Go ahead and get your timer. Hopefully you're familiar with all your parts. If you're not, be sure and turn back to page 8 and 9 in your book on Introduction to the basic Intro to Electronics. Turn to page 8 and 9 and all your information is on there for your parts. Alright, so grab your timer. That's the first thing we're going to do. And when you're inserting it, we're going to be starting it into E5, E6, E7, and E8. And then we're also going to be inserting it into F5, F6, F7, and F8. So if you'll just look on your circuit board, if you come down to E and then 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I'm going to have to look behind here. 5, 6, 7, 8. And then also on your F side. And you may have to adjust it a little bit. I've already did this a couple times, so it was, the first time I did it was a little bit hard. This next time I'm doing it, it's a little bit easier. So place that in there. And a note that whenever you're dealing with a timer in any of your things, like if you're looking at your schematics map or maybe you're just building something, put your timer in first, because if you've taken up other things with capacitors and stuff, or you have your diodes running or your resistors or whatever you're using, it's going to take up more of your room. So in this example, you're going to see that things run over other things. Okay, so all right, then we're going to move on to our SCR is in H13, H14, and H15. So which one is our SCR? If you said this one, you said right. And we're going to be in H13, 14, and 15. So find your H13, 14, and 15 and slide that into there. All right, our resistor is in G6 and G15. So G6 and G15. G6 and G15. Notice how close it is to the the SCR G6 and G15. Now, I want to bring up a good point. I finally got it in using one hand. Do not let these touch. This wire does not need to be touching this, nor does the top of the wire on my resistor need to be touching the timer. So don't let things touch. Make sure it's clean as you go. So you make sure you've pushed it all the way down in there so it has contact with the solderless circuit board, so we're not having, and then also make sure that nothing's touching. Just if you make sure it's clean as you go, you don't have to go back later and be like, oh, this one wasn't taut, that's why it didn't work. Okay, so just make sure of that. Okay, and then we have another resistor on J6 and J13. So J6 and J13. J6 and then J13. And I have to admit, I love having my other hand. I'm trying to video, but it's hard to video and put these in. J6 and J13. Okay, and make sure they're pushed all the way down so that you get a good, once again, nothing touching. Okay, and then we're just going to grab out a few wires, and I want to show you that the wires can cross over. So, like I said, this is not a working board, just so you can learn some terminology. But let's just insert it. Really, it doesn't matter where you insert it at this particular time, but let's just do like 1A. And then let's come over here to I6. That's yep, I6. Now we have to make sure that these do not touch. So it's very important that they do not touch. When you're building, make sure it's clean. Okay. And then notice how this is running over the timer. So in this lesson, basically, it's just to demonstrate that things do not need to touch, but also it's okay for things to cross over things. Okay. All right. Another thing that you're to do in this lesson, just as an example, is to get you some wires and put your wires onto your potentiometer. So you have 3 pins, what are called pins. You'll learn that in a later lesson, coming down through here. And how you know which one is for your pins is that you look for the bottom numbers, and this is pin 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then just feed your wires onto there in this lesson. I'm not going to stay on here for that. I'll let you do that in your time, but you can see how I have my wires wired on there. Okay, something like that. Okay. And then eventually in later lessons, you can just leave it. But you can take the wires back off if you want to, or you can just leave them. But I would recommend only doing 1 and 2. And remember, look at the letters on the bottom, and then 1 and 2. Because in a later lab, we'll be using that. Okay. So be sure and read in the book. I did want to tell you about this center column on your thing. I want to read you just a little bit of information real quick about that. So this is known as the center of the circuit board, and it's also called the center channel. Some just call it the center channel. If we added an extra strip to the board, this would be called the bus strip. So you can read about that over in here. One other thing that I wanted to go over with you was on the actual circuit board, there are 300 holes in it, and the holes are divided into 60 groups of 5 holes. You see them, you can see them right there. They've got a line there. 60 groups of them. Okay. of 5 holes. It has a center channel which separates the board into 2 sets of 30 groups of 5 holes. So one on 30 groups on this side, 30 groups on the other side. Each line of the 5 holes is connected by a clip inside the board. Any components or wires that you plug into any one of these 5 holes will be electrically connected together. Okay. And then I'll let you read on down about the buzz strip at the bottom of page 15. Okay? All right, that's good for lab 3. I'll see you at lab 4.